Alright, today let's do BIM assignment number 9, the very last one, on sort of renderings and cleaning things up. So you can either start with the building that we give you, or you can use the one that you've been using for the last few assignments. Start with the actual building model itself, and let's start to change some exterior finishes. Now you don't have to use the exact ones I use, this can be up to your taste, but do replace them with actual materials, like don't leave anything generic. Okay, so first things first, we're going to be changing this material. We're going to be starting with something like this, and our end result is going to look something like this, or this, or this. So let's get cracking. All right, first, let's change that wall material. Go to the level 1 floor plan, tab, hover over one of these walls, select them, and then let's edit the type. We're gonna duplicate this, and we're gonna rename it L1 Finish Wall Exterior. That way, it's not going to conflict with the other walls. Hit edit. Now, the finish right is brick. I'm going to switch it to something else. I'm going to create a new material, and then I'm going to change its properties to whatever I want. So search through this for something that makes sense. Don't make it made out of carpet, that would be gross. I've picked travertine. It's just a color of stone. And that's just a typical stone finish. If you want to make this appear in the consistent colors view, check use render appearance and that'll make it show up in that color. Let's change this name to exterior stone EIFS. EIFS is exterior insulated finish system. It's what's most commonly on the outside of buildings, just to make something look nice. Hit OK. Hit OK once more. OK once more. Now, if you look at how it changed, you can see the level 1 wall finish is different. Same thing with the other wall finishes. Now, there's one slight idiosyncrasy with my model over here, which is that this wall is a different material because I put paint on the inside. You're going to have to change that one too if you're using mine. So, click on this. And we can just edit the type because all the other exterior walls are going to be this pattern. And we're going to edit it. So show me that you can change the pattern and you still get full points. Okay, so under pattern, right now it's brick on the foreground. I want to make my own new pattern, and I'm going to turn it into cross-hatching, which is what is required, right? I'm going to just call it exterior wall pattern, and make a cross-hatch one. The line angle, I want it to be 0, right? Oops, I need to still edit this. So that its line spacing is 6 feet and 4 feet. So that's just to kind of simulate the look of a panel on the exterior. Hit OK. And then OK once more. So now my pattern is different. And let's see if that's all I need to do really quick. Yeah, seems like that's it. Okay, hit OK. And now they all have that nice pattern on the outside. Pretty good. So now that we have this correct, what's our next step? We also need to change the roof to asphalt shingles. So roof, we're going to edit type. Again, we can just edit the structure. Typically, you would actually make something. You would actually make a real new roof and name it properly, but for the purposes of this assignment, you don't have to. So let's find asphalt shingles. Hit OK. And in reality, a typical commercial building roof is, oops, let me get the thickness. I think we can just make this 1 foot thick, 1 foot of asphalt shingles, just so that the material shows up properly, and then just make this 0. Let's see if that works. You know what? Let's just delete this one. and change this one to asphalt shingles. My goodness. Okay, so now these actually have a real material, so they'll show up properly when you do a rendering. All a rendering does is it takes all of the things that have defined materials and shows them as the true material texture that Revit has built in. Okay, so you had to add some people in cars and stuff to your site plan, but once we have this, we can actually go directly into our site model. So just hit save on this thing. And I will call it. And then I can just link it directly to my site. So go to your site model, and this can be your site model from the previous assignment, and reload the link with your new model. So I'm going to reload it from BIM assignment 9 example. Oops, it's still open. I need to close it, and then open it here. It's still open. Okay, so now everything appears in the correct location. It looks pretty good. Let's start to set up our solar study. So the way solar studies work, and the reason they're important, is because you want to see how the sun hits your building to see if the shadow is going to have any impact. You can also think about it like an environmental side. You ever sit in your apartment and you are trying to sleep and the sun is beating down into your face? Solar studies can prevent small things like that to make sure that your building is oriented in a good way. So, first thing, let's create a solar study. All we have to do is we duplicate the 3D view, and we have to change some settings here. So down here in this bottom ribbon, we can make some changes. Click here and go to sun settings. In sun settings, you can make some changes. So what we ask you to do for the solar study is a single day, set in Urbana, Illinois to today's date, sunrise to sunset, with a 15-minute time interval. Other things that we want to change, actually, that's it. Ground plane, sea level, that's fine. Hit OK. Sun settings, sun path on. Now you can see the sun at different locations, and you can see how it changes over different times. Now if we want to do the actual solar study, we've got to turn on shadows. Now, at sunrise, it's going to look something like this. Casts a long shadow, right? If you actually wanted to export this, you can export it as a video. So you can just say, File, Export. And you can even export this as an actual video, I think, images and animations. And then you can export solar study here. We don't actually have you do this for this assignment, but this is just for your own knowledge. If they ever ask you to run a solar study on a Revit model, this is how you do it. Okay, so that's all for that solar study. Now let's talk about actually rendering things. And rendering things are pretty simple. So I'm just gonna pop over to the solution just to show you how it works. So with different 3D views, like this camera view, I can actually do something called rendering in the cloud. So you'll set up all of your camera views the same way as before, figure out the framing as you like it, capture all of the parts, and then we're going to use something called render in cloud. So that's view, and go to render in cloud. It's this little teapot icon. This teapot is kind of a callback to the early days of graphical programming, where a teapot with a reflection was one of the most advanced things that you could have because it's casting light in so many different directions. It's kind of like a ray tracing problem. So if you want to render in the cloud, it'll actually email it to you, similar to the environmental study. So all you have to do is hit continue, and it'll have you select the 3D view that you want to render. So make sure you can set them all up in advance. Output type, it can be a still image. Render quality, you can make it standard, you can make it final. They do cost some kind of credits, which they're not infinite amounts of credits. If you want higher quality ones, they cost more credits. So just use the credits that you have. You're given some for free. Don't spend money to like buy more credits or anything. So however many you need, you can just have them as normal quality. That's okay. It can just be large. 2 credits required. Exposure, that's fine. These are all just like photography things. If any of you guys are actually into photography, you can play around with this. And then you can just click render. Then it's actually going to render that image and it'll email you when it's done. It's telling me that it's missing some material patterns. It's probably just because I didn't load things in the right way. That's okay. If it throws that error at you, it'll still render most things. And right now you can see that it's loading. It'll tell you when it's done, and you can just access it on your own Autodesk page. I'm pretty sure that's actually it for this one. You just had to set up different rendering angles, and then some for the inside of just different 3D camera views. But that's really it. You just put everything into your sheets, and then you're done. So try the extra credit on this one. It's making a fun brochure. It's a good way to get up to 5 points. If you can just put it together in PowerPoint or something with just some pictures and some cheesy phrases, we'll give you some extra points at the end of the semester. So have some fun with this one, play around with it if you have time. If you have questions, post on the Discord or shoot me an email. That's all for this one.